Hello, I'm glad you can join me. Today I want to talk about some of the songs we sing in our worship services. We've gotten to a point in our history to where we're starting to see a transition away from some of the traditional hymns and songs that we grew up with to more contemporary songs. And I'm not going to say anything bad about the contemporary songs, but I hate to see some of the old ones fade out of our consciousness, because for some of them for 100 years, some of them for 200 years have edified and encouraged Christians, and to let those fade away from our consciousness, in my opinion, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We read in Colossians 3 verse 16, where Paul writes to, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God." And so these songs we use to encourage each other and to teach and admonish each other. And one of the songs that I want to talk about today is a song we sing called "A Beautiful Life." I don't get to lead this one too often. It's a song you have to really have all four parts to sing effectively, and it's not often we have that at Bearden. But it's a beautiful song, one of my favorites in the songbook. Today's Bible readings will be coming from the English Standard Version of the Bible. We find the song "A Beautiful Life." I'll read the first verse for you. It says, "Each day I'll do a golden deed by helping those who are in need. My life on earth is but a span, and so I'll do the best I can, We know that as we go through this life that we do need to do good deeds. We read in Galatians 6 verse 10, where Paul writes to our brethren there to, "So then, if we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith." And so we know that indeed, if we go through this life, yes, we need to do good, but we also understand that this life will not last forever, not this earthly life anyway. James writes in James 4 verse 14, "What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes." So we know we've just got a limited amount of time in which we can do good. We move on to verse 2, and it says, "To be a child of God each day, my light should shine along the way. I'll sing his praise while ages roll, and strive to help some troubled soul." Let us have that attitude once again of being a helpful person, but let us remember to let our lights shine. Jesus himself said in Matthew 5 verses 14 through 16, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." People see God's goodness in us when we do good. And if we do not do good, they don't get to see God's goodness. So do you see the importance of us doing good? And if we're truly followers of the Lord, then wouldn't we want to do good, for he is good? And it speaks here in the second verse of singing, "I'll sing his praise while ages roll." We need to sing the praises of God. I want you to think with me about Acts chapter 16. It's there that Paul and Silas were going about preaching, and they cast a demon out of a woman, and the people of the city are upset with them about this, because many of the people in the city were using this girl to help them sell their artifacts for their goddesses, and so they were angered because now they could no longer profit from this downfall. And so they went to the Romans and told the Romans that these people that Paul and Silas were doing things that were not allowed, and so the Romans punished them. And we read, starting in verse 23 of Acts 16, it said, "And when they had inflicted many blows upon them, they threw them into prison, ordering the jailer to keep them safely. Having received this order, he put them in the inner prison and fastened their feet in the stocks. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them." Now, to have some understanding of what a bad situation Paul and Silas were in, the Jews, when they beat you, did so with gave you 40 lashes minus 1. They were allowed to give you 40 lashes, but there'd be punishment from God if they exceeded that, so they always took one off to be safe. The Romans were under no such restriction. They beat you till they were tired of beating you. And that's the whipping, that's the beating that Paul and Silas had received. And then they were put in the inner prison and in stocks. And of course, the prison would be, in that day and time, and filthy and nasty and everything that would be bad for somebody with wounds such as they had. And yet in those terrible circumstances, they were singing praises to God. Let us consider that if they can sing praises to God under those circumstances, let us be thankful enough to sing praises to God today. We'll move on to the third verse of our song, A Beautiful Life. It says, the only life that will endure is one that's kind and good and pure. And so for God I'll take my stand. Each day I'll lend a helping hand. Once again, we see an emphasis put on helping others. But we also see them talking about a good life, the life that's pure, the one that will endure. Well, the only life that will endure is one that's lived in service to the Lord. And one that's lived according to how the Lord wants to be served. We look at Matthew 7, verse 21. And it's there that we read, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And so we see that we can't just go about doing what we want to do and saying we're doing service. We have to serve the Lord in the way that He wants to be served. We'll move on to verse 4. I'll help someone in time of need and journey on with rapid speed. I'll help the sick and the poor and weak, and words of kindness to them speak. Kind words I'll speak. Let us keep in mind that we are to be a kind people. James wrote in James 2, verses 15 and 16, that if a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? And so let us be about helping others and making their lives better. And then we'll read verse 5. While going down life's weary road, I'll try to lift some traveler's load. I'll try to turn the night to day, make flowers bloom along the way, the lonely way. In Galatians 6, verse 2, Paul wrote to the church at Galatia to bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. So let us help people with their troubles today. And the chorus says, life's evening sun is sinking low. A few more days and I must go to meet the deeds that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. We have a day in which we'll live on this earth no longer. Hebrews 9, verse 27 tells us, and just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment. We live, we die, we face judgment. We have no idea what day we'll die. We have no idea what day the day of judgment will be. But what we do know is this. We have an opportunity to do good today. And if we live to see tomorrow, that's another opportunity to do good. So let us do good up until we cannot do good any longer. Because there will come a day that this earth will pass away. There'll come a day that we pass from this earth. We don't know when those days will come, but we know that they will. And we know we need to be prepared. So let us be doing good for the Lord and for each other until those days come. I thank you for watching today, and I invite you to join us tomorrow for worship services at the Bearden Church of Christ. We meet in Bearden at 745 Cedar Street. We'll have our Bible study at 10 a.m. We'll have worship services at 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. If you're unable to attend worship services, I invite you to watch our live stream on Facebook. Even if you can attend services elsewhere, I ask that they'll be archived, so come back and watch and worship with us. We look forward to you doing that. We hope you can join us in person. Thank you today for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Goodbye, and God bless.